My name is Glenn Barkley and I'm an artist. I'm based here in Berry and I'm also spend time in Sydney as well, but this is sort of what we think of as home. I grew up in the Shoalhaven in Sussex Inlet. I went to school in Nowra. The Shoalhaven's been a big part of my life since my parents moved here in 1977. I'm a ceramicist primarily, and I made a series of works for the exhibition Wonder and Dread at the Shoalhaven Gallery. So for the exhibition, I have made a couple of forms which I call sort of open vase forms, which are these sort of shapes. And I like the idea of maybe you could throw something inside them and get rid of some, like almost an idea of getting rid of something and containing it. The text on the outside, which is in black, it says a time for building, and then it says a time for living, which is a poem by T.S. Eliot. And this might seem sort of bleak, but I think in terms of the civilization that we're a part of, if you want to call it Western civilization, if you want to call it like a sort of European-based civilization, I feel like it's coming to an end. We really do need to change and sort of rethink. It's such a sort of cataclysmic future that we're facing. And all the pots actually that are in the show have got sort of animals, a lot of birds and sort of Australian animals.
Okay, a lot of what was lost, yeah.
Which came from a story that my brother told me of going to the beach just sort of days after the fire, and he just told me that the whole beach was littered with birds. It's an interesting thing about trauma, and I don't want to say, it's sort of like I feel, and this could be part of trauma, is I don't want my experience of those fires in any way to sort of be compared to the experience of people in places like Conjola and people like Sussex went through, because they lived through something that was so sort of life-changing. But I mean, just the sort of terror of being here on the farm and realising that fire could have changed at any point and headed towards us. I mean, that was a sort of traumatic thing to live through, but like my experience is like a tiny, tiny fraction of what other people live through. And so sometimes I think, if we sort of want to make peace with the environment in which we live, there is a time for living and a time for building. Because if that's where we want to live and if that's how we want to live our lives, we've sort of got to come to some sort of agreement with climate that, okay, this is going to happen every once in a while, which is easy for me to say because I didn't live through
what happened,
that sort of trauma and that sort of cataclysmic firestorm. And as Australians and as people living on the south coast, it's like, well, it's this balance of we want to live here because of this sort of natural environment, but we're butted up against it, and it can turn nasty. It's sort of like having a snake in your garden. And I remember when I was a kid, people were so paranoid of snakes, and if there was a snake somewhere, someone would chop its head off with a shovel, or like someone would kill it. Whereas now, where we are here on the farm and on the garden, if there's a snake, we live with the snake, because the snake's as scared of you as you are of it. And just so as long as you know where the snake is, everything's okay. I think you've got to sort of reconcile, and I think that's a great sort of metaphor, because the snake could turn nasty. You don't know what the snake's going to do, but just be careful and respectful of the snake.
Heading back to understanding and actually respecting and working with instead of building on top of is a really good philosophy. I think I'll take it on too, Glenn. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing your work in the show.
Thanks.